Donald Trump is a guy in the White House. And pretty famously, I think I'd long since deleted this video. But it was one of my like really radicalizing factors where I was like, I need to approach how I think of stuff, and I know that how I'm approaching how I think of it is actually fucking me up. I was talking about the first transgender military ban in 2016, right? And it was a transgender ban on the military. I can't remember the exact specifics of it. I knew at the time. It doesn't matter now because things have kind of like transitioned into a worse phase. But basically, I knew that the way I was talking about it was incorrect because from a very strictly like facts over feelings, it was a thing that could happen and that anyone in the military should be ready for. But also, which is just getting fucked over. If you've never been in the military, it's really hard to describe. And also, it's as simple as it sounds. But you getting fucked over by the military is kind of par for the course. And everyone should expect it to happen. As a grunt, it happens so consistently that it's like eating your breakfast. For people that are not infantry, like I was, it's probably a little bit rarer because, you're a little bit less expendable, I guess. But as an infantry Marine, getting fucked over was like a consistent and constant thing. But when the first transgender ban went through, I was like, well, I don't know how to talk about this being bad, right? Now, you're like, Tyler, but it's a bad thing happened to trans people, so it's bad. It's more complicated than that. Why it's bad was a strictly moral thing, but it was completely within the bounds of the president to do, apparently, at the time. If I'm messing up any of this, we'll catch up with it later. But basically, eliminating or doing a thing to change the construction of the military is usually within the executive authority, whether you like it or not. It just isn't used that way, right? And it shouldn't be. So trying to say, like, simply enough that, like, banning some sort of person and doing discrimination is bad is enough to say, well, it's bad for a moral reason. But trying to articulate why it's bad from a productive reason was a little bit more hard because there were no visibly transgender people around me when I was in, all right? I was a Marine Corps grunt. It doesn't matter what your gender expression was, you are personality-less, right? I probably served with trans people and I would have never known because there's no way to tell. You don't have time for that, right? And usually you're not going to be on post and someone's like, I really think I'm a girl. Maybe that happened to somebody, but it didn't happen to me. And statistically, it's not going to happen that you're going to find out about it. But I'm like, generally, you shouldn't just fire people from the military because they need to be in the military, right? If they're there, it's because we need them. We don't just willy-nilly hire people to join the military. Like you select people for their skill set that they maybe do or don't have. God damn, this fucking blemish is killing me. I'm going to cover it with this microphone so you can't see it. You select them for the skills that they may or may not have, and then the skills that you want them to have, and you develop them to have that skill. In the infantry, although it doesn't really translate to civilian terms, my training, the maths on it when we were talking about it back when I was in, and this is numbers that were given to us, my training was worth in the ballpark of like $15 to $25 million of like 2007 America money. It's not cheap to train a United States Marine infantryman. Like the amount of the cost of a 50 caliber bullet, right, in a machine gun is like $5 a shot. 855 NATO, which I train on, is like $1 to $2, I guess, maybe per shot. Maybe even back then. I don't know exactly. And then, having all of these weapon systems, gas, fuel, if you just talk about the physical cost of it, you're like, oh shit, that number goes up high. It's like, yeah. And then, we're running around on ranges and shit. I'm learning from people who have to be trained. And so the military strength comes from not having to spend an insane additional amount of new money to train new people all the time. So you want to hold on to talent is really like the thing. And we were talking about that as a major issue with the Marines when I was in, because they were losing grunts all the time and suffering for it. And they would not change policy to retain infantrymen, especially like high quality infantrymen. Because we'd be like, we can see who's getting selected to stay, and those guys suck. Like, we have one guy who wants to stay in for the rest of his fucking life. He'd be a good fucking leader. He's top tier, but he's not. The joke is Mongo. He's not Mongo. Mongo run good. Mongo listen good. Like, just really, really stupid, but mad good at running, right? But like his intelligence and his ability to do shit that old people need to be able to do once they stay in for a long time is not there. And you would see a decrease in the overall value of a lot of these like staff NCOs and stuff until they finally got weeded out by the SNCO selection process down the line because of just the way that the selection was happening. I couldn't imagine taking people out that were good, especially in disciplines that have even smaller amounts of people, which from what I understand, the majority of people that are trans in the military are in highly specialized positions. And because of the unlikelihood of you being trans, if you're there, and, you know, you suddenly get removed, it's not great. Even at the lowest level, when I was a grunt, you can't lose a fucking field. You can't lose part of your fire team. You might think that everybody's like mixable, but they're not. Like, my fire team is my fire team because I'm a fuck up and the rest of us are fuck ups, and I'm talented and the rest of us are talented, but all of those are in different ways. And so you put fire teams together and then squads together, and you get people to work with each other until all of those fuck ups and those talents are quantified and put where they need to be. It takes a long time to get there. And as you integrate new members into units, you have to really, like, you know, sometimes jump them in, haze them in, but like really you do have to work all the fuck over people to get them to fit right. And when you lose someone, the vacuum is enormous. Like, it's fucking horrible. Not just if they like die, but like they're sick, they go on fucking leave, to the point where you can be pissed at people for taking a vacation because it's like, dude, we fucking needed you here because like you're part of the rotation, and then it's broken. So like removing anybody from military service is a very serious thing. Normally it's only through criminal action or the end of a contract, and it's a completely voluntary situation. Now, there should be a way to remove people administratively for they didn't fuck up, obviously, but they're a risk because it is also the military. So say we had a bunch of really, really talented guys doing whatever, I don't know, job 2. We'll just call it job 2. And then we found out that like half of them have been taking money from like Russians or something, right? But not directly. They were just really, really fucking incompetent. They haven't fucked up anything. These weren't against the rules, but they can't be in their position anymore. But they also don't need to get in trouble because they just kind of whatever. So you have to be able to separate them out, you know, at the drop of a hat while not making a big deal of it. That's kind of what we're going to be seeing a little bit of today. This is not the case with these transgender people that were transgender service members, but it is definitely a fucking issue, and it's really hard to get around. Explain how bad of a thing this is, because I don't know what all these people did, and no one does, because they were not administratively separated because of an individual issue. They were administratively separated because of a universality of their existence that the administration decided was wrong. And I think part of what I'm trying to get at when I'm like, I don't know exactly how to specifically talk about this back in the day, is how to fix this issue by describing it in terms that can be better understood. The possibility of a executive being able to use authority to do this needs to be eliminated. Removing any mass of people from the military for a shared issue that is inherent to their disposition shouldn't necessarily be taken completely off the table, because it might be like one day, I don't know, these people, we found out all these people are part of like a Mormon faith militant, you know what I mean? None of them have served dishonorably, but they have to be removed from service because we're just pretty sure that these guys are going to try to do a coup, and we don't want to have these guys in position of power. That needs to be in place, but it should be something that I think is reserved for legislative action and falls very deeply underneath judicial review, right? It should be something that the executives can suggest but can't act on immediately. Because this has definitely been abused, and it could be abused in other ways to attack other minority groups if we've done it this way once, right? And to say like, well, no one's ever going to do it, we're past that point of a conversation, and it needs to be kind of cut out. Now, the conversation around this has also been flustered with the fact that lefties are horrible about talking about the military. They're just dog shit about it, and it's not because you have the wrong opinions on the military. It's just a lot of you guys don't know anything about it. So it's painful to hear you say a word about the military because you're so fucking incorrect. It boggles the mind at times. Or you guys like latch on to shit that makes you confused or nervous as citizens. And just in general, hearing civilians talk about the military is an almost universal frustration. Doesn't mean you should stop permanently, but like, you guys really need to learn fundamental facts about the military. And there's so many people that are in the military to talk to who will be politically aligned with you, who will be more leftist than you or me or anyone. They're there. So start trying to figure out some of these people to run this stuff by. I'm not going to hold your hand on this, but understand if you don't know anything about the military, or you, especially if you're like, I've spent most of my life not liking it, and then you decide to start talking about it, understand, you're falling into a literal trap to make yourself sound unserious about the issue that you are going to be speaking on because you just don't know stuff that's fundamental to it, and you'll sound goofy as shit. I'm going to read this article. This is from Aaron in the Morning, but it was written by S. Baum. I don't know who that is. It's got some issues and it's got some things. It's generally not horrible, but like, I've got some issues with it, and we're going to read one from Task and Purpose. These are both blogs, I believe. Task and Purpose is still just a blog. Aaron in the Morning is very bloggy, and it has a bloggy disposition. So I intentionally did not double check with the AP, just so I can kind of cover how this reporting sounds, and then go over some of the issues and kind of give you guys a full breakdown of my ideas, because I wouldn't be able to talk about this otherwise. People always confusing us with banned Emperor Nana. They speak in absolute terms about it and feel attacked when people guys say it. It's not even that. It's just like you guys don't know how to say stuff, or we'll get into it. So I have no idea who this person is, S. Baum, at all. I don't know if they do intentional, like, whatever. Courage knows no gender. We support trans soldiers. Don't let anyone else see this. Yeah, 2017, July 29th. Stop transgender military ban. Washington, D.C., Wikimedia Commons. Aaron in the Morning's readers reported publication. Yet again, this is Aaron Reed, who is a transgender journalist and writes on trans issues, but this is not their byline. So, this Saturday, President Donald Trump's military parade will take the streets of Washington, D.C., featuring thousands upon thousands of troops and nearly... I don't know if that's the case even. And nearly 100 tanks, fighter planes, and military vehicles. The parade is also conveniently on Trump's birthday. In a post on Truth Social, okay, I don't care about this. Walks like a goose, don't care. Okay. It is a darkly fitting metaphor for transgender members of the military who, as of last week, have begun being involuntarily separated from their jobs on account of their gender identity, as per Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's memo implementing Trump's military ban. Some trans service members, such as Alex of the National Guard, a pseudonym to protect them from further retaliation, have chosen to stay and fight the ban, which is currently being litigated, as it should be. While some were eligible for separation pay if they left voluntarily, this doesn't apply across the board. In cases like Alex's, there are significant financial barriers to leaving the armed services, and the kicker is that trans service members under the Trump administration are being branded with a scarlet letter or 3, JDK, which we will be getting into this. It stands for Juliet Delta Kilo. It does not. That is just the phonetic alphabet. That's the military phonetic alphabet. A discharge code labeling someone a liability to national security. Where is that link at? Air and Space Forces Magazine. Self-ID looms. I have a different link to this. I didn't read the entire thing, but I'm not gonna fuck with that right now. Juliet JDK. I don't know what it stands for. Understand that. So just we don't know. JDK is how you would read this abbreviation out if you didn't know anything. So like, I could say COC stands for Charlie Oscar Charlie, right? But it stands for Command Operations Center in the specific use in my mind. So we don't know what JDK stands for. I was doing some side research along with these. None of these codes make any sense at all. I think a lot of them don't stand for anything. And most of the reading I've done has suggested that the State Department, or the Department of Defense, actually, rather, doesn't know. I looked up mine. I have my DD-214 here, which I will not show you because line 3 of the DD-214 is your fucking social security number. Make sure you can't read that at all. My separation code is MBK1. And I looked it up, and it means end of contract. Okay? So my separation code is MBK1. When I looked it up on some of these sites, that's actually MBK1 wasn't on there, just MBK was. And it just means end of active service. So the discharge codes say reasonably why you were discharged, okay? When I looked up the JDK code, I think I have it here, right? Bloop. Yeah. We go down all the way here. I mean, this is how many of these codes there are, by the way. And I don't know how accurate or up to date this list is. This was put together on veteran.com community. And these are, I think, representative of a lot of different codes. This is kind of a thing that the DoD does. If you were never in the military, you don't know about this. But things get reused, and I'm going to explain this in a different way in just a second. They get reused and repurposed, and sometimes they are called the same thing, but like different time periods, they'll be changed up. So I can already tell you that this list isn't exhaustive, and we're going to go over where these codes came from an actual press release. So that's why they're using it now. But just so you know, this is how many of these there might be. We don't know what the current code list has. Okay, this is how many there might be. There's several hundred, I think. JDK, HIJKL, JJJJ. I'll go here. JDK up here on this shows up as fuck me, dude. It's loading at a weird speed. There we go. Military Personnel Security Program. Okay. There's also another one of these that are being used. One of the reasons that we don't know what all of these mean are because they're for internal DoD use only when it comes to processing your DD-214 in the future. Usually for re-enlistment or just so that people know stuff. But these go all over the place. They're not all negative. They're just, you have to have one, apparently. So you have like breach of contract, early release, strength reduction, first term airman USAF. When you look at the, do I have a back on this? Shit. Military separation codes, okay, so I have this. If I go down here, how to get it, important notes, copies, purpose, re-enlistment codes. So if you look at re-enlistment codes, so I'll tell you right now, mine is RE1A. I'm just doing this to highlight how all over the place these are. RE1A. So if you look at RE1A, RE code 1 may re-enlist without issue. 4 general categories of RE codes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. May re-enlist but may need a waiver. 4, ineligible to re-enlist and join other services. RE3 code 3 is actually the bigger issue that's coming up with a lot of these transgender service members because they need this waiver deal. If you look at the Army re-enlistment codes, RE1A says individuals with over 6 years of paid military service, which was not me, fully qualified for re-enlistment, but are ineligible to re-enlist for 93 days after separation. Whatever. I was U.S. Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard RE codes. I was RE1A, which is for some reason just an additional RE1. Eligible for re-enlistment 1A. I have no idea what that means. More than likely, my re-enlistment code saying 1A like that is probably because I had the standard 8-year contract that they offered back in the day. So it was 4 years active duty, 4 years inactive, right? Inactive ready reserves is what you call it. So more than likely my reenlistment code reflected the fact that I was still actually part of the individual. So if you look at my whole my whole Department of Defense folder, it would actually tell you that I was a member or whatever, something of the Department of Defense for 8 years, right? And then my actual active service was, 4 years. 4 years of active service because the leave doesn't count. So that code is just up to date as of the time that you're issued that DD-214, right? And actually some of the information that's on your DD-214 becomes outdated because there's other things that go on. Your DD-214 is not the period at the end of your service record. It is just what is going on at the end of your active service. It's an end of active service document. So a lot of this stuff can go all over the place. And kind of funny, when you go down a little bit further to the Air Force, RE1A says ineligible to reenlist, but condition waived, right? So it's kind of all over the place. And all of these codes are different, like thing to thing. Air Force Reserve reenlistment doesn't even have it. So, and I've never had these explained to me. I didn't know what they were. I haven't looked at that part of my form and known what it means since I was in. I have never seen this shit before because it's never come up. So it's very rare for this shit to be brought up at all. They're going very far out of their way to kick trans people out of the military. Is basically what I'm going to say. This is a rarity. It's a very strange thing. But hopefully they're all getting their honorable discharge. Discharge is the most important thing because that's what most people look at. Most employers don't know what the fuck. I've never heard anyone talk about that fucking separation code. And they're all so different. Branch to branch has different codes that I have no idea if anyone would look at it or know about it at all. But definitely this is being pointed to. It's strange. The way that it's being talked about here and with other people, I don't have anything concrete underneath me to say how concerned you should or shouldn't be. As a person that's actually has one of these codes that was in the military, this is the first time I've heard this shit brought up, basically ever. I should show this, though. I looked up because they're like, that gay people got hit with these codes before, and they did, but I don't know if it was necessarily, I don't think it was necessarily this JDK code. I'll get into it in a second, but I looked up the JDK and I followed the reason for it, the military service, whatever. And basically, normally the JDK code is given to people that are some sort of security risk and need to be separated involuntarily from service, but not necessarily for something that they did. It's just like, you probably have to get separated from service. It's such a niche thing that it's like hard to say what else it would have been used for. And because it's wrapped up in the literal intelligence community, it's an intelligence discharge, right? Like an intel, like spies and shit. Like, it's all secret squirrel stuff. It's wrapped up in that so deep that it's like, this is basically using, you know, your really like your grandpa's a communist, whatever, to try to get rid of you. And this kind of stuff should probably be thoroughly legislated going into the future, but you need to know about it and how to talk about it if you want to make those points. So make sure that you're accurate with the stuff. But yeah, I looked up homosexuality because I saw it. And there's actually 30 fucking codes-ish for this. I don't know if there's any uses of homosexuality outside of it, but look how many different of these. And this is what I'm saying. The codes get reused and the reasons get attached to different codes. BML and BLC are homosexuality. BRA is homosexual conduct acts. BRB, be right back. Homosexual conduct statement. Homosexual conduct marriage or attempted marriage. Homosexuality DLC. Get the DLC. GKC, GLC, GML, GRA, homosexual conduct, again, acts, statement, marriage, down. So as you see, there, it's like everywhere. Homosexuality, conduct, kind of through the entire thing. It comes back up all the way through all of these. And I like, So these are hard to pin down. I would say, and there's another thing that we're going to look at. There's an instruction form. Is this? Yeah, from way. Is this from before? Yeah, this is from right after the effective September 24th, 2020. So this is actually right at the end of the last deal. This was a policy issue. If you go down to the bottom of it, this is talking about the personnel thing that's attached to that JDK code. And basically it says that you're not supposed to be using these. Hold on a second. I can't see shit. Information about individuals collected as part of the investigative and adjudicative process shall be managed in accordance with applicable laws and DoD policies, including those related to privacy and confidentiality, security of information, access to information. Nope, I didn't go all the way down. Is it? Well, it's in here somewhere. Basically, it says you're not supposed to give this to employers, and employers shouldn't use these codes, right? Because you might not know what the fuck they mean. Versus citizens, administrative, and this is all confusing. Don't even think that this is 100% connected. All this shit is wrapped up in DOJ fucking language, and it's fucking dense. Really, 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 really dense. I would say make sure that anyone you're talking to about this stuff is not using Chat GPT to try to boil it down, because it will get fucking lost. It's all alphabet soup once you get past the first thing. But it's personnel security procedures, right? Which is basically making sure that whoever you hire or you bring on to be part of the military is like A-okay, in the sense of, is this motherfucker gonna like sell us out? So what they're basically saying is that a bunch of these, I think what they're doing is saying that the involuntarily separated trans people are a national security risk because they are trying to stay in the military for some reason despite being trans, which is not good. I think that's a Tyler putting it together. I think that once I read all of this other stuff, you'll have to get deep into it. I'm not going to start reading a DoD release, that one. I have a different one that I have to read anyway, that provides guidance on these codes. It's very, very dense shit. But it's basically someone is putting the amount of work you normally put into trying to write out a law with the amount of research and putting shit together in order to just to qualify transgender people who want to stay in the military despite being transgender as an actual like national security personnel intelligence risk. This is, like I said, basically the same sort of thing you would give to like someone, like you find out their dad is like, their dad's business partner is a Chinese cell phone manufacturer. like the most convoluted shit you need to like put together in order to justify this stuff. Back in the day, homosexuality meant that you could be blackmailed. It's an OG rationale for kicking gay people out of the services. I guess it would have to be that same deal. They're claiming that trans folk can be exploited by foreign intelligence services. It's bullshit. I mean, maybe, yeah, I don't know 100%, but like, what the fuck? JDG is having a minor child. I didn't know you could get out for a kid. It's very strange. Yeah. And the separation codes can be all the other stuff. Having a minor child might actually be legitimately asking for separation to take care of your kid. Do you know what I'm saying? So the separation codes, having a separation code is something everyone has one, and they can be all over the place. I showed you a bunch of bad ones, but I don't know which ones are updated, and you really can't find out unless they release stuff, and they did specifically, the DoD did specifically in this case, which is also strange. And so I was trying to make the point earlier. This is one of the things I want to start making videos instead so I don't get all confused like this. Because some of the earlier guidance on these is don't release the rationale behind the codes because it's only for DoD internal purposes anyway. And it might lead to confusion with employers, which I think, so basically by putting out guidance about what these codes mean, they are intentionally targeting transgender people as members of the military, but also against former guidance, and I don't have 100% all of this ducks in a row stuff because it's a lot of reading and note taking to get it all together, and it's dealing with declassified releases from the Defense Department, which is not easy to parse through. Okay, basically releasing what these codes are only specifically in the case of these transgender separations from the military in order to create a situation where you could look at someone's DD-214 and say that their administrative code actually means that they're a national security risk. So it seems like they are tripling down on it. I might as well just bring this up real quick. Okay, so this is the guidance. This is going to be referenced in one of these separation proceedings. Okay, so yeah, this is the current guidance from May of this year from the DoD. So this is Hegseth's Defense Department. This is the important part right here. Separation proceedings. We talk about the voluntary and involuntary deal above. This would actually take a breakdown. This is why I want people who write about these issues and write about the military at all to know more about it, because you need to know to look all this stuff up and put it together. Being ass mad on behalf of trans people is not sufficient to help trans people, even if you are a trans person, okay? You got to have all your fucking ducks in a row and know about this stuff kind of deeply in order to really hit on it so that you can know why it's happening and how you could change it and prevent it from happening again. And I'm going to get into that a little bit down the road too. But separation proceedings. Any service member affected by the department's gender dysphoria policy and not granted a waiver, so they're using gender dysphoria, by the way. That shout out fucking J.K. Rowling. And not granted a waiver pursuant to reference I, who has not sought voluntary separation, will be processed for involuntary separation. Enlisted service members will be processed for separation prior to the expiration of the member's term of service under secretarial plenary authority following a determination that doing so is in the best interest of the relevant military service. Using the JFF separation program designator code, not gender code. Officers will be processed for separation on the basis that their continued service is not clearly consistent with the interests of national security using the JDK separation program designator code. And let me go ahead and just look up the JFF. It might explain it down here too. Or no, that gave the reasons. Right. But this is definitely like raw fucking them over. Like, this is crazy. And I'll explain why here in just a second. JFF, I think, was on this too. Secretarial authority. Okay, so the JFF separation code is secretarial authority. So basically doing an active troop drawdown. So that's for enlisted. The enlisted people, because they are enlisted, okay, and this is a thing with the military that if you don't know, you absolutely fucking need to know before you start talking about this. You have to, okay? So an enlisted personnel is a person that enlists in the military. As in, literally, they put themselves on a list. They enlist. They jump into the lists, right, of the military. It's voluntary service in America. So as a person that's voluntarily on the list, you can also be involuntarily taken off the list for kind of any reason at any time because the executive powers have authority to get rid of you. So basically, they can say, I don't want you in the military anymore because it is my purview as the commander-in-chief or any of his subsidiaries who can make decisions for him to make it so. And then you're gone. Okay? Is that fair? No. And should it be possible? Not in this case. That's actually nuts. That's bypassing the authority of every officer underneath that individual, which is important. Because officer authority is what makes the military run. It's micromanaging at a psychotic level to have people removed from service outside the authority of an officer. But why is that important? Officers fall underneath the executive authority, right? Because ultimately in the chain of command, the executive authority, the commander-in-chief, is in charge of officers. But officers do not become officers by enlisting. They volunteer for officership. But officers are officers because they are granted a commission. They are commissioned officers. They are commissioned by the legislative body of America, by Congress, and I think Senate, to be officers. Now, it's faster nowadays, but that is what a commissioned officer is. Non-commissioned officers in the enlisted ranks are not that. A commissioned officer is commissioned by the legislative body of America to be an officer, right? Which is why we even have officer grade ranks that are like still non-commissioned, like warrant officers and stuff. I'm pretty sure aren't commissioned, but are officers for other reasons. So like this is all part of the system. So for the officers specifically, you're bypassing the legislative authority of America in order to separate them as a national security risk using essentially what would be like typically emergency powers. The only thing I could think of that would be similar to this would be kicking as many Asian people out of the military as possible around World War II because you want to eliminate like Japanese influence on the armed forces. It is pretty commensurate with what I would say is a genocidal action. Basically removing people from the military that you would want military personnel to target in the case of a genocide, like literally, which, you know, the internment of Japanese Americans in World War II very, very nearly was a genocide, and it was absolutely an act of ethnic cleansing as far as where they lived is concerned. Like, we put Japanese people into concentration camps, and we did stuff like this in order to do that to them. This is not good as far as a force measure, right? And one of the most interesting parts about it is that, additionally, service members discharged under this policy are ineligible for reentry unless a waiver is granted pursuant to reference I. Service members will receive reentry code RE3 to reflect that they will not be considered fully qualified for reentry or continued service. Service members discharged under this policy are ineligible to serve in a reserve component. That is not common. They skipped a whole one. So basically, they're saying you're not allowed to come back. You're ineligible for re-enlistment in a way that would typically be given to people that are given administrative separations, right? You're an alcoholic. Substance abuse issues. If you beat your wife, you caused a car crash, you have some sort of behavioral issue that caused them to not permit you usually to re-enlist in the first place, or caused a discharge that is under other than honorable circumstances, which all of these people served honorably. I know this sounds crazy. I would consider terminal violence against somebody that tried to fuck with my discharge. I know that sounds like maybe too much to a civilian, but it would actually, I would attack someone over that, like physically. Like I don't really know how to put this in perspective, but if you fucked with my discharge status, it's not just like because my benefits would get fucked with too. You're saying that like all the shit I went through doesn't count because of your vibes. And I would just have to show you that, like, in the tradition of Marines, I can still climb towers and shoot M14s. I would lose my fucking cool immediately over that. Like my hair standing up on the back of my head as a person that was in the military. And I would say valid over anybody that got the wrong discharge after they served honorably or were forcibly, like, discharged. I would lose my fucking cool. Valid. This is poor maintenance of the military in a general sense. This is not a valuable change. There's all sorts of problems that we have in the American military. About 99% of them boil down to massive lack of transparency in places that should be 100% transparent, and misuse of funds by people at the highest levels of the military. There is literally nothing wrong with the military in the grand scheme of things that's caused by anyone in the enlisted ranks at all. They don't have the ability to be dog shit, and everybody else is responsible for how dog shit they are. And very little, very, very little in the majority of the officer ranks, as fucking fucked as officers are, they are still limited in what they can and can't do relative to the Department of Defense's overall mission of being a department that provides for the defense of the nation. Most of the issues come from misallocation of funds and, literally just a lot of the obstruction on the House floor for certifying the commission of general grade officers and field grade officers. That's a whole fucking issue. And this stuff needs to be changed. personnel issues in the military should not remotely be permitted to fall underneath the prime executive authority. That should not be allowed. It is not valuable. Signing, the most you should be allowed to do is say, we need 2,000 more or we need 2,000 less. Figure it out and maybe provide some level of guidance on that. But using immediate emergency is essentially emergency is executive functions to create a forced drawdown targeted to the minority status of individuals based on junk science is not great. I have never seen any valuable the only people that I've ever heard that say like trans people aren't lethal are, first off, the same people that are really worried that trans people are going to start killing people because they have access to the wrong bathroom. And guys who I could kill with my bare hands. Like Tim Pool, I could kill Tim Pool with my bare hands. I don't think it would be hard. I think I could give him a gun and I might shake up. I don't feel like his bullets would be as effective. And he talks about like military effectiveness. No, not from somebody I can throttle with my bare hands. Pete Hegseth, I could take I feel like I could have his back in 5 seconds and that would be donezo. These people shouldn't have conversations about lethality. You should have like, I should be, if we were both sitting at a table and there was a gun between us, and you're the guy I'm talking to, you should have enough presence, you know what I mean, that I would be worried about you actually being able to grab the gun and actually have the balls to pull the trigger before I could. Because otherwise I just don't feel it. Pete Hegseth has like a limp dick, right? He looks like a whiskey dick guy whose wife fucks around on him, and I just can't take that seriously, right? Like, no. Yeah, I could harm you physically. I don't think it would be hard to do. You know what I mean? Like if I fought your security, I feel like you would have like a fainting spell. Like he's bitch built. And so these guys shouldn't be talking about lethality of troops and all this sort of, because that's even like way outside of your pay grade. Because guys will talk about women in the military and it's like, she's 5'8" and she weighs 125 pounds and I can outruck her. But sad to say, she can outshoot me at fucking 2,400 meters and also the 800 meters before that. So she's got me, because if this like little tiny 5'8" fucking girl that doesn't weigh she's literally, yeah, I could slap the side of her head, but she's got a cold eye and she can shoot at 2,400 meters. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like what does this person do? Like they're just really good at IT and they dress like a fucking girl in your mind. Okay, I don't care. Let them dress like a girl. That's fine. Even if you believe that, like, you know what I mean? Who cares? Like, isn't that scary or something? Did the wires get fixed? Yes. Do they do inappropriate shit while they're on duty? No. They are exemplary in every way. Then I don't fucking care, and you're weird for interfering with this. Are you a foreign agent? Like, I feel like you need to be... Where's the CIA in all of this? Because I feel like they need to arrange for you to have a special Sunday dinner. Do you know what I mean? like that. Like the CIA needs to roll by and give you some herbal tea, because what in the fuck is what the fuck is happening right now? You can't be removing my fucking my mentally unstable IT professionals. I need them. All right, even the ones that aren't transgender. We need these psychos. They're ours. They're mine. I want them back. Do you know what I mean? Like, even from like the darkest standpoint, you're just getting rid of effective people because of nothing. It just, like, literally there is no good reason. I don't understand it. You have to show me that transgender people can't kill people, and you guys are the ones that talk about them killing people. You know, it's you're always, how often you're going to tell me that fucking trans people can't be in the military, and then you share you guys are the ones that are sharing it's ma'am, and everybody's scared of that person. Like, okay, is the it's ma'am person are they in the military? Because I feel like they have a higher lethality by about 10 times than fucking Tim Pool. All right. And like every fucking trans man I've ever met's a fucking bro. You wouldn't be able to tell any of the trans men. They're in. They're all fucking juiced up to their eyes on fucking tea, like the rest of the fucking grunts are. They're maybe a little bit shorter, but jacked and real sprinty. bros. I don't understand. Like, from a military perspective, I haven't been provided any effective like intelligence to suggest that these are good ideas. And it really just seems like you're using executive authority to be bigots at a complete deficit to us, right? And I feel like I just want to see more energy on Capitol Hill of just saying Pete Hegseth is too big of a pussy. He's just too big of a pussy to talk about lethality. Like, you just come off a little fucking limp-wristed. You just look like you sound like a Mary. Like, I feel like if we were in a fob situation, it would feel like I could buy you. You know what I mean? Like, if Pete Hegseth went to prison, people would be like, I've never even wanted a bitch before, but like, I feel like this guy's got bitch energy. He's a pocket holder is what I'm saying. And I just can't hear about lethality from a guy like that. Or any of these other people. Fucking Charlie Kirk? Absolutely not. Fuck no. Talk about lethality. I don't think he even graduated high school, right? He doesn't even qualify to be in the military. What's the other one? Crowder? He's fucking Canadian, so no. Shotgun cheaters. White Canadians are a bunch of fucking war criminals, all right? We can't go out. There's like 90% of the shit that fucking people blame America for is all South Koreans and Canadians. I swear to God. We probably deserve it because we started whatever was happening, but Canadians are fucking nuts, man. But this shit is muffed. But the point of this also is these fucking RE3 reenlistment codes is nuts. You have to have a fucking waiver to get back in, which is not good. Mostly because what they're saying is we want it too difficult. We want to basically make it so that even if Donald Trump or MAGA Republicans don't maintain control going into this next session, and it swings back, we want you to know that your careers are permanently endangered, because every time we get in, we're going to kick you out of the military and we're make it hard for you to rejoin without a waiver. And that is not good. That is raw bigotry. There is no reason that they should have to have a waiver to join the military in the first place if they're able-bodied. I don't consider, and I've never seen any suggestion that gender dysphoria should be some sort of discluding factor, especially when gambling and purchase addiction seem to be the most common fucking issues in the military that actually cause problems. Alcohol addiction should be, if alcohol addiction was a disqualifier for service, we wouldn't have anyone in. And alcohol addiction is considerably more dangerous, provably and historically, than anything to do with gender, anything at all. Fatalities, most of your non-combat deaths in the military, I'm pretty sure, are all still alcohol related. Most of your unsat discharges and your non-judicial punishments are all alcohol related, and alcohol is usually an exacerbating factor in the vast majority of cases I've seen of people getting arrested, with like a notable few of guys that, you know, I know that went to the brig for doing steroids for like a month apiece. So like, if we're not going to hit something that's actually like a serious issue like that, and that is a national security issue because people getting drunk and spilling the beans has been something that's been on propaganda posters forever. But I have never seen, like, watch out, is your bunkmate putting on a dress and talking like a girl? Or conversely, pretending to be, I don't know if you can even, I've met a lot of female Marines, nowhere near, I wasn't stationed with any of them, but they're not exactly a bunch of fucking fairy princesses, so I don't even know how. Are the female Marines around you acting somehow more masculine than usual? That's going to be lesbian erasure, and then we got no gays in the military at all, I guess, is probably what people are pushing for. But like, I can't, like, watch out, they're putting on a dress. They might start talking to Jerry. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to give up the state secrets. And what? All you got to do to get state secrets is literally give fucking Pete Hegseth any alcohol at all, and then he'll start using uncontrolled communications platforms to send for your eyes only, highest level Yankee White top secret information via apps controlled by foreign actors. Like, where you could take pictures of his phone. we have the worst OPSEC in this fucking this organization than anyone. I've never seen a White House that leaks as much as any of the Trump White Houses have. Like, it's constant, literally fucking constant. But like, what some fucking trans chick is gonna put on a dress here and there, paint their nails, right? Go out on the town and be girl, or just be girl in uniform and just abide by the female dress standards instead of the male dress standards, which I don't even think should exist. I think there should just be one uniform dress standard. They shouldn't have any fucking female uniforms, because honestly, fucking female Marines look hotter than fucking male blues anyway, so I don't know, go for it if you want to be a pervert. Like, what the fuck? Just like, you could actually solve this in a different way that's permanent and agreeable by saying no more makeup and no more, like, basically feminine or traditionally female oriented dress at all. If you're in the military, you have to dress like a fucking boy constantly. All right. Because I know they don't give a fuck about trans men. They always forget about them until the last fucking hurdle, because everyone does. Sorry, trans men. But like, if that's your issue, then you can just get rid of it. Okay. Everyone has to have a fucking high reg, no makeup, and you all have the same uniforms, which makes it more uniform. You could have done that. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that would have been sensible. And actually, a lot of people would have agreed with it in the ranks as well, because it makes the uniforms cheaper and easier to work on to have them all to the same standards. Because women or female Marines, however you want to say it, and military individuals having to have their skirts and stuff that they put together. And if you're proud of your uniform, be proud of your uniform. All right, mine's just better than yours. Because it fucking is. It's the Marine Corps Blues. Get dunked on. Blue Alphas, baby. But like, it makes it difficult to have all those different types of uniforms. So the more uniform your uniforms are, the more simplistic it is. And like, the only things that are ever not that are like the weird little pencil skirts that they have to have for service alphas and like blouses and stuff. Whereas your day-to-day attire is the same shapeless pajama-y fucking BDUs that everybody wears, right? And you can fucking have all that stuff tailored. If you want to show your fucking ass off, dudes do. It's mad gay, all right? Like, and that would work, and that would be within the bounds of like what is okay in the military. But they don't want that, and it's not about that. I want to explain that that's a thing that could have been done with a snap, and it wouldn't. Maybe some people would have like got out. It would have made them seem unreasonable. But it would have been completely within the bounds of just basically the Greenman standards. And like, we wouldn't have had any issue with personnel that wasn't the personnel's fault. But instead, they use these really obscure measures to separate these individuals in a way that damages the overall efficiency and effectiveness of the United States military while providing us nothing in return. And there is no good reason to have done it. Like, if you just didn't want guys in the military, as you would be observing them, I don't want men dressing up like women in the military. You can make that a rule, and then they will have to follow it. And then we don't lose anybody unless they're pissed about it to the point that they want to quit. And I think it's fine to make uniformity more uniform, because it is the military, all right? It's not like, a casual job. Everyone should look the same. Why? Because it makes it fucking easier on everybody else, okay? I don't need to be competing with somebody that knows how to put on fucking blush, all right? I just let me fucking no makeup, haircut. Or, I don't know, make everybody dress up like a chick. You could also do that. But, like, the thing is instead of going in that direction and making those decisions, which would have fallen in line with military culture and combat effectiveness and daily operations and like fleet effectiveness, back home effectiveness, you went and made this weird, obscure emergency action to attack these people. And it needs to be addressed in a way, and this is what you should ask your legislators, and you should look for, there's going to be tons of people that are going to have even better takes on this that were trans and in the military and know about it. But this is a thing that you need to focus on with your legislators, because they're the ones who can change this issue. And legislators come from your local elections. If you vote in your local elections and make sure that people understand this as an issue, and if you want to have this conversation with your families and stuff, tell them that's the issue. They could have changed the grooming standards so that people couldn't dress like that. If you don't like them dressing like that, they could have changed those and made that the case and just eliminated all of these issues, but they wanted to directly attack people's re-enlistment and go after their money and possibly even their employability against the former recommendations issued, I think it's 2020, September of, so by the Trump administration itself in 2020 anyway. So, like, this is an extremely vindictive and bigoted order that accomplishes nothing for us. It's actually, like, nuts how hard they tried, given how much they fuck up everything else, to make this specific thing a thing that they did. It's actually, like, shocking how bad this is. I really want to hammer that home. I'm going to read the rest of this article now, but, like, it's not easy to explain from a distance. You know what I mean? This kind of aspect gets me very annoyed. Like, what if they're actively trying to undermine us? I think they are. I think there's aspects of some foreign power trying to undermine the United States military, and it's not going to be good for you. Trust me. I know, like, if you're a dipshit, you're like, oh, the American military needs to be, they're going to undermine the American military. Great. Undermining the cohesiveness of the American military as a singular organism does not make the nukes that the military guards or the weapons that the military guards go away. All right? And it does not set you up for a situation where the American military does less pogroms or invasions or escalating actions overseas. As a matter of fact, having more fascists and fewer leftists in the military makes it way easier to tell people to do horrible things. And if you have, like, a surrendered attitude towards shit like that, and you're like, well, it's all fascists anyway. Okay, you just need to fucking go ahead and check out early. Because if you're just going to treat yourself like you're dead, it would be better if you also just didn't talk like dead people. Just silence forever. Every service member has to learn the same smoky eye for deployment or it's a dishonorable discharge. Based. It's the Kremlin for sure. I would have to guess so because it also feels outdated. You know what I mean? Like, this feels like the end of an idea that somebody was having a long time ago. I wouldn't be surprised at the Kremlin. I wouldn't be surprised at Israel, honestly. And then also just, like, standard day-to-day bigotry kind of spread out throughout other stuff. But trust me, this benefits no American at all. It just literally doesn't. You didn't know that those people were there before this came up because they were doing their jobs right. They were good at their jobs and doing them. And then you got upsetty spaghetti. And you guys couldn't even wait till the normal thing, which is when, like, one transgender person who's visible and, like, mentally unwell fucks up and you can do, like, r/public freakouts and highlight them as indicative of the entire trans race or whatever, you know? You fucking, they wanted to jump in early and get in ahead of that normal, typical thing. And I feel like this is the biggest indication that Republicans are bad at making the military strong. This is antithetical to a strong military. This is literally, you didn't come up with a plan to replace all transgender individuals and now we have everyone in there. You just said, I'm displeased with your existence and not your performance, and I'm going to fire you based on your existence and not your performance, and I want you to never come back because of your existence and not your performance, which is antithetical to good governance. It just really is. Sweet Cheeks Treat Checks, thank you for the $2, Yokai Lover. Ugh. Yes. This feels like Rumsfeld, Cheney era Vulcan shit trying to do a Dreyfus affair against trans folks. I don't know what I joined the military. I still don't know what that means. I get talk to whoever that is about shit. That was deep. Why would Israel want to divide America? Wouldn't that be bad for them? LOL. No, think about it. Like, literally think about what you just said. Israel always wants America divided. They always want America divided. If you look at Israeli politicking in America, it's inherently divisive. If you focus on Netanyahu talking about our military, he fucking hits these points. I just want America's military to be ready to defend us, and I know that you have your issues or whatever the fuck. I know I've heard him talk about this stuff. They want an American military that is going to be amenable to genocide in the Middle East. down to the smallest occupant of it. Any leftist that says don't join the military, if you're a lefty, you can't be in the military, treat them like you would treat a fucking actual like Nazi fucking propagandist, because they want a Nazi America. They do. If good people don't join the halls of power, regardless of the past that it was engaged with it, then you only have bad people in it. If you have a military where we start getting rid of, trans people underneath this, what's to have a military that doesn't get rid of Muslim people under it? We don't need the entire strong American military to go genocide Egypt. We don't. We just need enough people to shoot. We're trying to downgrade the American military from what it is, which is an extremely competent force, regardless of your kind of misunderstanding of the difference between political strategy and what military capabilities are. If you get rid of all of the good people in the military, of which there are a fuckload, okay, and you get rid of the mitigating force of people who are like, you shouldn't be mean to X because I'm an X and I serve with you. You're like, oh, yeah. Then you're going to get to a point where you have no one but fucking Nazis in the military. That's why they didn't want to integrate the military. They didn't want black people in the military because they didn't want black people to have access to the first off, the wealth increase that comes from poor people joining the military, the access to the halls of power and stuff, but also because it's way easier to use the National Guard to go into a black neighborhood and start killing black people if there's no black people in the National Guard. Israel wants a weaker American military because that's just a byproduct of having an American military that's amenable to genocide in the Middle East, which is what Israel wants. They want us to slaughter brown people, and they want every fucking pilot and every fucking drone operator and every person that loads ammo and every person that fucking does IT connection to be amenable or too scared to say, fuck no, what the fuck? Absolutely not. They want that for themselves, and they'll do what they can to get it. America's military being strong has nothing to do with Israel, right? In a general sense. They want political decisions to be made, and those political decisions that use the American military, they want the American military, when those decisions are made, to be completely compliant and complicit with them top to bottom. They don't want to have a guy like Mad Dog Mattis out there going, nah, this isn't going to work, and I'm going to say it's not going to work, and I'm going to fight it all the way to the top that this isn't happening. No, we're not doing it. They don't want people that will sacrifice their careers in order to say, I'm not fucking shooting civilians, you're a fucking idiot. Well, we're not shooting civilians, you're just firing in that general direction. That will kill civilians, we're not doing it. I will go up on charges. They don't want people like that in the military. And understand, a lot of leftists don't want people like that in the military anyway, because they're either stupid or they don't understand how the military works, or because they're ops too. And they want the military to start turning into something that is completely controlled by the white supremacist forces that are always trying to take over high-level spots in it. They want you to stop focusing on what actually gives workers power. Because every person that can enlist in the military is 99.999% probably going to be a fucking worker. Every guy that gets to fucking the heights of SNCO rank, probably a fucking worker. If you look, and we'll see this today, if you look at the people that are the leadership in the military, and at least in the Marine Corps, at the fucking mid-tier level, guys that are in their 30s and 40s, training Marines to be Marines, it's black guys, Latino guys, and girls and women as well. But it's black people, Latino people, non-white Americans, with a few crackers fucking thrown in here and there. That is who is filling our military, right? And if you start pushing out all of the people like trans people, it's a first they came for, then they came for. The next thing you see, we're going to be kicking all the Muslims out. And someone's going to go, well, if you were Muslim, if you were fucking Muslim, you shouldn't want to join the American military experience. I shouldn't have to tell people this, that they're fucking genocidal, that they're fucking criminal. You shouldn't want to join a criminal Nazi fucking organization. When if you really think about it, like if the Nazis hadn't effectively Nazified everything, which was a part of their goal, i.e. getting out everybody in positions of power that were Nazis, people that were, communists, people that were antithetical to Nazi ideals, if they didn't Nazify the military before they started training new members of the military, you would have been much more hard-pressed to have fucking guys mowing down Jews with grease guns, because there would have been more people in the military that would have gone like, what in the fuck, and tried to blow up fucking Hitler at the Eagle's Nest. That's the point of it. Treat every single person that's like, good people don't join the cops, good people don't join the military, good people don't go and join the halls of power in this genocidal world. Treat every single one of those people like they're a fucking op. Because they're either so stupid that they're fucking buying into actual white supremacist propaganda. Yeah, there shouldn't be any blacks or Jews in the military. Fuck yeah. Trans and Muslims in the military? No, they shouldn't be there. Military should be all white, just like me. All white. Blue-eyed, blonde-haired. The military should be all white. No Asians in the military? I don't know if you ever heard of Japan. They're all fucking highly dedicated to the emperor. They'd die for him in a bit. Yeah, white military? I like that. All white. I don't like all these SNCOs being black until woo. Now, I'm not going to say the word I'm thinking, but I'm thinking it. They want that, you fucking idiots. They want that like crazy. You have the same goals as white supremacists. The same goals. It doesn't matter how, like, your feelings about it. You're getting played. And it's easy to play lefties because lefties don't look into shit. And they think that morality and being upsetty spaghetti about something is equivalent to doing something about something. So when they're upset about the military, they won't learn about it. They definitely won't try to join it and fix it, or try to become a legislator and understand anything about it and make it not the thing that they think it is. No, they'll just say, oh no, you old baby killers. You're a bunch of genocidal freaks. You committed war crimes for the last 4 million years. As a matter of fact, the American military crucified Jesus Christ. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, damn. How the fuck are all these white supremacists in charge of the military? Well, I've been telling you all along, it's that thing. You're literally doing the fucking... You're using the power of belief to make an organization that isn't what you're talking about into what it is. Anyone that tells you like the American military is a white supremacist organization, be like, well, I mean, there's definitely gonna be white supremacists here and there, but like my entire chain of command from my fucking team leader up was like Latinos up until my first sergeant, who was a black guy from fucking Mississippi, which you won't see in any fucking tech company, bank, political, high-level political org, DNC, you won't see that. But if you see diversity in a chain of command, the fucking military and it's like insane. I'm not even kidding. When I dropped to 2nd Battalion, 8th Marine Golf Company in 2006. You can probably look it up if you can find the roster. My team leader was a black guy, and then it was a Latino guy, and then it was a white dude. Finally, it was Ledford, and then it was me. Okay, until I finally was in charge of a team. So it was a white guy 1 out of 3 times. My squad leader was a black guy. We'll just go through it raw. My squad leader was a black guy every time except for when I was in 1st Battalion or 1st Platoon, and then I had a white squad leader. My company first sergeant was black. My company assistant first sergeant, whatever you're supposed to call that, was black. My company guns was black. Battalion guns was a white guy one time. Every other time, I think it was a black guy. And then my company first sergeant was a black guy for my first 2 deployments, and then a white guy once, and the white guy was the worst at being a first sergeant. It was crazy that he outdid my first sergeant. Now my fucking COs, my entire command staff of officers was white, all the way up. But actually, if you include the first sergeant major of the Marine Corps was black when I was in, so all the way down. And you would see it. Because you see your rank or your command structure, right? It's on the wall everywhere, and it'd be white as fuck all the way through the officer ranks, and then the SNCO, it's all black folks, all black folks, Latinos. Every once in a while, like an Asian dude. I've never worked for an Asian person in my life until I was in the military. I didn't see them because they just weren't around me, like at all. Like maybe 1 or 2 here or there, and then I was in the military and like. You're working for an Asian dude now. Oh, I never even thought it was possible, but I guess it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't consider that possibility. And like, that's not like that can change the entire chemistry of somebody's mind. Because now, like, you get out of the military And maybe even you hang out with white supremacists or you're a piece of shit while you're in, but someone's like, yeah, I don't think I could trust somebody that worked for an Asian guy. You'd be like, well, I fucking work for an Asian guy in the military. What the fuck you talk about? You fucking say about me, motherfucker. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the military that I worked for was like that. And then if you start the breakdown of my fucking platoon, I mean, maybe 40% total were white guys, which is not a lot compared to the construction of America even, right? But like all these other dudes, just fucking every different fucking color under the rainbow, to the point where sometimes like, I think that guy, like, aren't you white? Like, dude, my name is Gutierrez. Yeah, but aren't you white? Fucking start speaking Spanish and shit. Like, oh fuck, look at this guy. It's just the case. It is just the case that it is a way out of poverty for people that are not white and who are poor. And you're like, oh, my country, blah, blah, blah. Hey, shut the fuck up. Okay. Adults are talking about this. Everybody that joins the military does not go and fight. And just because we were at war for 20 years doesn't mean that everybody that joined during that time is some sort of fucking war criminal or some shit. As a matter of fact, most of the mitigating issues for dipshittery are because someone's around that's that person. Sexual harassment skyrocketed when women joined the military because they didn't have people reporting it before then. So you're like, oh, sexual harassment's horrible in the military because the reporting rates are so high outside of it. No, the military cares about sexual harassment and will actually run it down ever at all. like people get sexually harassed, they get assaulted, they get raped and stuff in the military. But it wasn't until like women were involved in leadership positions and like, well, it seems like our fucking numbers are skyrocketing. It's like, yeah, it's the fucking thing with the plane, but opposite. Survivorship bias or whatever the fuck. It's because now we're reporting it. So our reporting levels are higher because everywhere else squashes it. The sexual assault rates are as high here as they are everywhere else. But the reporting comes in. Why? Because now women have access to the same path out of poverty that men have. And they have access to the same. There's women that can say, I know I can have men work for me, and I know how to have men who are dipshits work for me. Because I was a shop sergeant at a fucking motor tea company, and I fucking got them, I whipped them into shape, and I made them fucking work for me, and they respected me. And that's all it was. And now they have that. And there's nothing else that gives that to you, and if you turn your back on it, you don't get it. You don't get to have it, because there's nothing else that offers it. Well, that's not very fair. Feels like the world's shit. Yeah, dummy. That's why we're all fucking talking about leftism. Because the world fucking sucks. But if you want to be a woman and just go into a management positions based on raw meritocracy, there's a lot of places where it might happen accidentally. But if you go to the military, you can get put in charge of shit and motherfuckers will say, yes, ma'am, and fucking mean it. And if you say, fuck, jump, they will jump. And they will say how high. And they will do the whole thing. And you can take that out of there and take it into the civilian world and be like, yeah, I can be a manager. I ran a company of 200 Marines. I ran a battalion of 1,200 Marines. I ran a fucking battalion of, 700, 800 soldiers, this and that. And then you have it. And people are trying to say like it's a good thing to give it away because they're mad about Iraq. And they're like the American military. It's like, dude, it's the American the politicians are doing it. The guys that are in the military and the girls that are in the military have no fucking idea. We don't have the ability to say no or you go to jail. And a lot of times you're not doing war crimes. It's not like you get up every day like, I got to kill my fucking 12 kids before bed today. You go and sit in a fucking box. Do you know what I mean? Or you go and you're a fucking water person. Sometimes you're a fucking CB. And you get up every day and you fix the fucking roads that we broke. There's people like, you're a fucking war criminal because you served in the military. And people look at him like, I was with the CBs and all I did was build highways. I went on 4 deployments. I got shot at, mortared, and bombed. I never fired a fucking round, and I should have shot a guy, and I didn't because I was busy holding fucking rebar while a guy wrapped it so I could build a fucking highway. And your criticisms don't mean anything to these people that were in because you just sound like a fucking little kid. You're like, you got mad at me. Like, you sound cucked. You are cucked. You people are cucked. You are willfully and happily ignorant because you think you're getting an own on, like, basically a lot of people who are your, like, suffering why your intersectional equivalents, but like tried to make something of themselves. And you just try to pretend like everybody who's ever in the military, like, looks like me and was a Nazi. And it's pathetic. And anyone that's like gunning for that shit, understand you, Israel, And fucking all of the worst people on earth want America's military to be white, incompetent, and full of graft and corruption and shit. And it's not going to change a single thing about war crimes happening that America's politicians fucking envision and execute, because they're only going to get worse, because there's going to be no one that fucking says we shouldn't do this. You're giving up access to power because it was misused by other people who are not the good people that try to get it fucking shut down. Go and get involved in this stuff and learn about it. You should be able to have conversations about the military, and if somebody says a rank, you should know what that rank means. Deeper than, like, you know, E3, like, oh, it's the third rank, a Lance Corporal. Like, well, no, we're talking about the Navy. So what is E3? Like able seaman or some shit like that. Seaman first class, maybe. Ugh. Oh man, the Taliban didn't even shoot at the road teams. They like the roads. Everybody likes the roads. The military could do that. The military is very capable of being a security apparatus to provide infrastructure construction. But people don't understand that is the case. When I was fresh out of the military, oh man, most of the National Guard commercials, almost all of the fucking Army commercials I saw, changed to focus on how effective the Army, and you always have to give credit to Army Rotary Wing because it's some of the best in the business, how effective Army Rotary Wing, all right, helicopters and various similar things to helicopters, how effective Army Rotary Wing units are at rescue operations. Actually, yeah, all those guys that fucking learned from generations of dudes flying Hueys into fucking Vietnam to do evac brought all of that to being some of the only people that can fly in mountains and save people on mountainsides. You're like, well, what good is that? Like, we were just talking, fucking North Carolina floods flying on mountainsides. We can do that. Our military could operate inside the United States borders, providing security in a way that's not like killing anyone. Just literally like, hey, everybody, chill. If something goes fucking nuts, we'll make sure that there's no roving bands of militia trying to steal fucking food, okay? These guys are going to rebuild the fucking highways, and these guys are going to rebuild the fucking water and stuff, and we're just going to hang out here and make sure nothing fucking goes crazy, because you always need security on construction sites. We could have that. We could have that overseas. Go in, help, and fucking leave. But you need to have the political will, and you need to understand that the military can do that. And every time you hear the military is getting sent in, not to freak the fuck out, and be like, okay, the military is getting sent in. I want to know why. I want to know who, and want to know when you're going to leave. You can have that conversation, and you can educate yourself to the point where you can have it and tell people why it's being fucked up. Oh, so we shouldn't help? We shouldn't send in anyone? Like, well, no, we don't need to send in Marine fucking Special Operations Group sniper teams in order to, like, fix this electrical grid over here after an earthquake. That would be fucking stupid. So we don't need to send those guys in, and we need to watch out for whatever senator suggested that, because that was a weird fucking thing to do. And we need to discipline these fucking troops, and I know everything that's about these troops. I know everything about them. I know everything about this SEAL team because I studied it, and I can have this conversation with other people, and I know that this SEAL team was acting out of standard operating procedures. I know that they were fucking getting completely fucked over by a CO who's a psycho and 2 or 3 SNCOs who did not maintain discipline, and that's why this fucking unit went bad, and it's not everybody. It's those 3 guys and that guy, and if we fucking get rid of them, this unit's going to be fine, and we're going to rebuild it. Not, we're going to cut funding to the Navy SEALs completely. You're all welcome. And then when I lose my next election, we're going to kick transgender people out of the military. like it's so fucking frustrating. This alienation between working people needs to fucking stop. And if you think that you're too good to learn about another worker, then you need to be treated badly. Horribly. You have to be fucking, like, literally dogged on. Your efforts must be frustrated until you are silenced forever, because you are that antithetical to us building anything valuable. These are the issues I have with actual online lefties that are actual issues. And this is the sort of stuff that kind of shows up here. That doesn't mean like this, I was talking about this fucking Aaron Reed contributor is that bad, but even the small little kind of weird missteps in this would make somebody who's outside of this is going to come in. If you start repeating that. So I understand that this Juliet Delta Kilo designation is like destroying the re-enlistment ability of these people. You're going to be like, you're almost correct, but not quite. And if someone is actually like prepped for it on the other side, they'll eat you alive because your good fucking intentions are not sufficient enough to have a conversation about something you don't know about. which is always the issue at hand. What is the Cicero quote? The sinews of war, infinite wealth, and infinite resources? I don't know. Send in DevGru to Alabama to find Tuberville. Tommy Tuberville? Cut Navy SEAL tram funding. Give it to MARSOC. MARSOC, the best. MARSOC, quiet professionalism based. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go through this real quick. This designation shows up on job applications and government forms. Okay, hold on. It stands for Juliet Delta Kilo, a discharge code labeling someone a liability to national security. What is the source here? This is horrible writing. I just want to say that this should not be, this is very substandard. Okay. This doesn't actually say according to anything. I've just got to click on this link and then I have Airspace Forces magazine. I'm not reading through all of this to get your reference. So I'm just going to say that you don't know what you're talking about and then I'm fine. Because I don't know if this person knows where the reference is. That's why I'm showing you guys my sources. According to this thing, I bring it all up. If you ever see any articles that are like this and they have links, be very distrustful of their ability to tell you what the fuck's going on. Even if you agree with them, but also especially if you agree with them. Because these link outs, this is not proper citation. This is improper citation. Okay? Linking out to stuff doesn't tell you what's going on. And if these websites that these are linked to go down, you no longer have the link and you no longer know what it is. This is piss poor journalism. This is actually bad. You would fail a normal journalism course for this. If there's a journalism course you took that said this was okay, it needs to be expunged from the curriculum of any school that gives it. Because I need to know exactly specific. It stands for Juliet Delta Kilo, a discharge code labeling someone a liability to national security. According to who? According to... not an original source, but according to Air and Space Forces magazine, some part of it in here. I'm not going to read through the whole thing because I don't even know if it's actually in there. Designation shows up on job applications and government forms. Not true. I'm just going to tell you that right now. That is untrue. I have a separation code. Okay? And it's not on anything I've never applied to a single job and written it down that I can think of in my fucking mind. I haven't even given every job my DD-214. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of them never asked for it. I can't think of a job I gave my DD-214 to. I just said I was in the military and they asked me what kind of discharge I got and I said honorable and they never asked. The only places I ever have to bring my DD-214 to are governmental in nature because it's something to do with the VA or some other benefits thing, or I'm going to the DMV and I want my like veteran code on my ID because it helps me with fucking getting into certain buildings easier. And that's pretty much it. I've never, so I don't know. I don't know why it would show up on a job application. Maybe it does. I don't know what job applications it does, or where the reference is here. Like we're not proving this. And government forms. As far as I know, your discharge would only be on one government form. Maybe it's on other ones. I don't know. I don't know what these are, and I'm not learning it from this article. Maybe it's in here, but I don't know if this person knows because this isn't a primary source you would get this information from. Do you understand? Like this is bad journalism, dog shit. It impacts a person's ability to get jobs, the security clearance, or even immigrate, as Alex's spouse and children are doing while Alex stays behind. I don't know if any of that's true. This is the kind of code they gave to homosexuals and communists in the 1950s, Alex said. Kind of sure, probably from this person's understanding, but now we know that it's a little bit more complicated than that, but there's just a better answer. This is what you would give to people who have mishandled classified material or have made statements that make the government say, we cannot trust this person to be anything anywhere near anything of value. I would need that to be clarified. This is where more recently it's been applied to queer people under the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy as per CBS. Okay. But I would need, this isn't proven. This is a statement from anonymous source. You can't use this as the final statement in something. This can only be somebody's vibe. So in journalistic sense, you have to follow this up with proof of every single thing that this person says, referentially at least. So like, okay, I need to know that it's the homosexuals and communists in the 50s. I need to know what the code is. I need to know that people that mishandle classified material or have made statements against the government have gotten this code because you have no proof of this. This is bad journalism. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Just bad journalism. More recently, it's been applied to queer people under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. What is the CBS Army document outlines plans for expelling transgender troops from military. It's from the 31st of 2025. Okay. Very long article. I'm not going to read the entire thing because your article should be able to stand alone. I don't know if this is even in this article. It doesn't show me where. I don't get linked to a specific highlighted chunk. I don't have a screenshot. I'm just going to go ahead and say that that's not proven. As Alex knows all too well, I don't know how that's the case. This battlefield is not only for the military. When you say that trans people are not worthy of being in the military, even if they can do the job, that makes them less in the eyes of the law, Alex said. But when we are less in the eyes of the law, they can do anything they want to us. Okay, fair. In a prior ruling on the matter, District Court Aaron Reyes sounded the alarm under the animus and bias. The military comes with us. All right, what is this link? Is it to her statements or is it to another story? Aaron in the morning. We are self-citing our own paper. That is unacceptable. Ignored. You should say in previous reporting, this happened. And the ruling should be mentioned also. In a ruling on X, in a ruling in this court, at least, district court judge, what district court? Do you understand? And so, okay, we get down here. She wrote in a March opinion. This should be up here. You're burying this. Okay. Now, this opinion is too long to read. Okay, so what part of it? Its language is unabashedly demeaning. Its policy stigmatizes transgender. She wrote in a March opinion. Okay. I mean, that's fair. This is ultimately okay. That's all I need. I don't know. This is an opinion. This should just be here. This link makes me feel like this justifies this, but this justifies it. So this should be up here. I should also have the district judge where they're from. You need more. The conservative bloc of the Supreme Court overturned a lower court's order to pause the trans ban. This move may indicate justice predisposition on the United States. I don't know how that's the case. This case could determine the constitutionality of gender-affirming care bans for trans people any day now. This is very opinionated. Even if it's true. Okay. I don't... Do I have to... What is this link to? SCOTUS blog. Okay. I don't know what part of it. I don't know why that's authoritative. The move may indicate justice's predisposition on trans issues ahead of the opinion. This is, dude, Oyez, new Brown revisited facts of the case. Question. I've never even seen Oyez. What is this? Is this the public access to the court records you normally have to pay for based? The weaponization of the JDK code is merely the latest in Trump's attempts to disenfranchise trans people from all public life. Also, I don't see the other one that's in here, the JFF code or whatever, because that's the enlistment one, or the RE3, which is actually the real issue. The real weaponization is the RE3 code, the re-enlistment one. The other ones, I don't always see those pop up. That might be a thing for officers, because only officers are getting hit with that, which that wasn't specified in this that I saw. And the other code is hitting enlisted people who are going to get hit harder because that's going to be trans people that are enlisted and not officers. So they're just going to definitely have way less money and way less ability to get hired at doing other stuff because officers just have, first off, they already have, more than likely, if they're an officer, paid off student loan bills, hopefully, and they have a college degree because you have to have a college degree to be an officer. So they're anyone getting hit with the JDK code is in a much better position than any of the enlisted people, but we're focusing on officers. So this is people that have been to college. Whoops. I clicked on the thing up there and not this. This is plunging the knife and twisting it to ensure that trans people would have no role in government ever again. Fair opinion. It's to punish us for having the temerity to think that we belong. So this Pride Month, companies like Coca-Cola, I don't care about that. Lawfully. Trump is unlawfully sicking National Guardsmen and Marines onto the Los Angeles uprising. It's ICE. It's an opinion. He's reportedly trying to do the same in cities across the country, namely strongholds in blue states. That's an opinion about an opinion, who have expressly told Trump they don't need or want combatants in their streets. Doesn't matter. Military experts warn this is dangerous for civilians and service members alike. However, that doesn't seem to matter to Trump. That's a link to Defense News, which is definitely a Gannett. This is definitely Gannett. They just mixed everything together. We don't have Military Times anymore. It's Defense News. It's not a particularly good article. I had to look up a bunch of shit on my own to make sure that the person knew what they were talking about. And I immediately was just like, I don't know if this is the case at all. More importantly, it really does. I'm going to just double check real quick. Yeah, it doesn't seem to know much about the situation at hand. We get a lot of stuff on background. It's an opinion piece. And we kind of gloss over the fact that there's 2 of these codes that are being used, and the one is being hit, is hitting probably going to hit way more people. And that's going to be enlisted trans individuals. So now, right, this is only officers, is the JDK, because that's what it says in the memorandum. But the other code is going after enlistment people, and they're using it as an administrative separation, but then hitting them with the R3, you can only re-enlist with a waiver, which is basically saying don't join the military because we'll make it hard for you to re-enlist. If you want to re-enlist at all, you have to have a waiver, which is who the fuck even knows what waiver will be accepted and how to get it. And then also, next time we're in, we can administratively separate you from the military again at any time. This is kind of the issue over and over again with lefties talking about the military. I mean, you're concerned. A lot of this is probably true, but these are not very convincing articles. And the problem with the lack of convincing is you as an individual may be like, well, I believe it because Aaron Reed puts this person on and I trust her and that's based. Okay, but an unconvincing article won't be convincing to the next person down the line, which is why you as a leftist are being educated. You as a leftist are educating yourself so that you can share information with other people who may not be leftists. Or maybe are leftists and don't know the correct information. It's a social part of our existence, and it's one of the inherent things about socialism that are important. Good propaganda, okay, and good information sharing. Getting people to know that there's a problem, that it affects them, and that they can change it, and that your solution to change it works. This doesn't really give a lot of situational, it doesn't give a lot of changes. It doesn't seem to understand the issues at hand. I think I'm going to probably say no more sharing Aaron Reed in the morning. I only like authoritative sources for sharing news items. That's not a good news item. It's an opinion piece. Okay, but I don't know the person, so I don't care about their opinion. And their opinions relative to the military don't seem to be based on knowing too much about it. So I can kind of ignore them completely, which sucks. But also, if you try to share that with someone else, like, hey, I don't know if you know this, Dad, but you were in the military and they're fucking over trans people in the military. And your dad starts reading this, and this might be the time to convince your dad, right? And then he reads through this and he goes, this person was clearly never in the military, and I don't know what the fuck. I'm not clicking on 15 links to get clued in on this. What's going on? Like, I prove this by clicking in, and then it's on to another whole other story. What? No. And then it's another opinion piece written by this same person. This is an opinion piece, by the way. The language shows it as an opinion piece. It's opinionated. It's got extra shit thrown in. It's related to other fucking situations that are happening that happen to be in the military, related to the military, but it's not this one, which is kind of insulting because it's like, hey, I don't know if you know, but the military is being misused, and you should be really concerned about trans service members being kicked out of the military. It's like, well, how am I supposed to feel about the military right now? You know what I mean? We need to keep Delta Force out of public things. True. Not Aaron getting blacklisted from the Westside. Well, definitely that whoever S. Baum is, not a particularly good. I mean, I just don't. I don't care for like lefty opinion rags and blogs because, first off, unless I'm going to disagree with them or agree with them, then their opinions aren't going to be as valuable in my community as mine. And second, I want people to move away from the sharing opinion pieces as though they're reporting, because they're not. I'm not doing reporting right here, right now. All right? This is not how you should be getting your news, and you should not be hearing the way that those kind of things are phrased and uncritically sharing shit like that. Because I get so much shit where it's people like, I don't know if you know this, but blah. And I know you didn't read the article because the article doesn't even say what you think it says. You just share headlines, and then you get completely misled because you get led around by the dick like fucking 80-year-olds get led around by the dick by Fox News and Facebook stuff. And then you think you're better than those people. And then I have to explain painstakingly that you're not, and then you get mad at me. And I just want to skip to the end of you getting just mad at me about you don't get to share some blogger's fucking opinion blog and then we have to talk about an opinion blog. With all due respect to the person that shared it, you just probably didn't know better. I got another article from that person too that actually explained some of this shit. But you know, I had to do a lot of my own research here because the articles weren't well researched. And understand, it took me, I started looking at this at 11:45 or noon or so. And all of the little sites that I went to go to double check to bring all this stuff up, that took me 15 or 20 minutes while I was looking at also all of the other shit that I was going to put on today. So it doesn't take that long. These people are lazy. They did not do the research. They are lazy. They are lazy or they are incompetent, with all due respect, and they need to be better if they want to have more effect. Because you could have presented all of the information I have access to, but you didn't. You just randomly linked to other shit, which is not good because it doesn't tell me what's happening. Sometimes it wasn't the case. Sometimes it was. Being spotty is not well, at least they did it sometimes. It's not, good. This would fail like a freshman level news writing and reporting class. You would fail the assignment raw. And understand, like, oh, I never went to college for it. Okay, well, maybe you should have. All right, it is a bit of a skill. All you got to do is be able to cite the entirety of the fact and where people can find it themselves. All right? Whole statement. A story that's based on a single on-background person, Alex from fucking, is like saying, like, somebody calls into Majority Report, like, hi, my name's I'm John from Pennsylvania, and I just want you to know all of these things. And if you look at this report and that report, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, you just basically did the same thing as just any random caller to the Majority Report. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't. I've never read that. I mean, maybe it said it, maybe it didn't, but I didn't read that, caller. I'm not going to read it right now. It's like 700 words. What part? Can you tell me what part of the report I need to focus on? It's fundamentals, okay? And people need to focus on that a little bit more. I think it's one of the bigger reasons I wanted to talk about that piece as well. If I was Aaron Reed, I would definitely suggest... I think I read some of Aaron's stuff, and it seemed a little bit better put together. She was twit-longering or something. I was following something, so I know I just have Aaron Reed in the back of my head as being pretty authoritative, or at least effective at communicating in a journalistic fashion certain stuff. But I would definitely look twice at getting any more information from that S-Bomb individual unless they cleaned up their reporting a lot, because that is not ideal. Solid cedar spoof, thank you. The only news I get here is drama community news. Has anybody realized that Tyler looks like if the Surf Times took testosterone? What the fuck? He's Canadian. My parents are both in the Navy, but I kind of doubt they would care about this. My dad just doesn't give a shit about something that isn't affecting him right now. You should bring it up to him. Bring it up. Be like, Dad, would you have let people get kicked out for this kind of stuff? Like, ask them if they think don't tell was a good idea. I don't think it was. And see if you can start the conversation off like that. Make sure you find a better article. Don't use me talking about it. I wasn't particularly authoritative either. But Task and Purpose did one that seems a little bit more better. U.S. military's highest ranking transgender officer says separation process is broken, which makes sense. Okay, fair enough. But I don't know. It's a big situation. And we need more people talking about it that are knowledgeable about the military and have respect for people that were in it to talk about it. Because if you don't and you weren't, you are only going to cause harm. I would say to the point where you may be engaging in secondary transphobia if you talk about these issues without some degree of understanding of how the military operates. Because very likely you're going to do this thing where you're going to say, well, transgender people losing their jobs because they're transgender is bad, but you shouldn't be in the military, so you should basically be happy that you're not in the military anymore as a trans person, which is ignoring trans people as people who make their own decisions and turning them into a pawn in your political speech. So understand that I will stand on the statement of, yeah, if you try to talk about these issues, you can respect trans people and talk about trans issues, right? And be like, I respect them because they're trans. But like, if that's the limit of respecting them, then you're not respecting trans people. You're respecting trans people's struggle and considering them all as basically just a series of rubber bands in a giant rubber band ball, some of which are disposable to your talking points. Think of it like that. So if you want to talk about trans people in the military, you should understand the military and what being in the military means to a person who is also transgender. It's more than one way that you have to go about it to understand what the fuck is going on. I think that people should go out there with that kind of in mind, because I just know that the conversations around this are going to be really fucking stupid, particularly from camps like Vosh's. I actually don't want to. I don't want to see the DNC transthetical. Yes,